Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about how to convert between degrees and radians. So let's talk about the difference between the two. I think degrees is more widely known and used, especially in the beginning of geometry class. But once we get later on into the course, we start talking about radian measure. So we can measure the arc measure, the measure of an arc of a circle in degrees and in radians. So in degrees, we talk about, oh, it's 90 degrees or 270 degrees. And we know that the entire circle would be 360 degrees, okay? So at the top of the screen, we see right here that the radian measure of a complete circle is 2 pi radians. And we just said the degree measure of a complete circle is 360 degrees. So that tells us that 2 pi radians is equal to 360 degrees. So what does the radian measure tell us? Well, if we think about the circumference of a circle, it is equal to 2 pi r. And so if we use the simplest circle that we can with a radius of 1 and the fact that all circles are similar, we can come up with a constant of proportionality that states the measure of the arc in degrees divided by 360 times 2 pi r gives us our radian measure. So we can take that equation, rearrange it to give us a couple of equations that we see at the bottom of our screen right now on how to convert between degree and radian measure. So on the left, it says to go from degrees to radians. We're going to multiply our degree measure, and we have two options here. We can either multiply the degree measure by 2 pi radians over 360 degrees, or since 2 divided by 360 is just 1 over 180, we could also just use pi radians over 180, and that's what I'll use in this video today because it just makes our calculating easier. And then for radians to degrees, we see on the right side of the screen, we want to multiply our radian measure by 360 degrees over 2 pi radians or 180 degrees over pi radians. So essentially what you want to do, you want to make sure whatever unit you're starting with, so let's say we're starting with degrees, we want degrees on the bottom of our other fraction, right? Because those units are going to cancel each other out. If we're starting with radians, we want radians on the bottom because those are going to cancel out, okay? So let's look at 4 examples. And we'll start with these first 2 at the top. So number 1 says we want to convert 30 degrees to radians. So we're going to multiply 30 degrees by 2 pi radians over 360 degrees. Okay, so that's one option that we could do. Or we could do 30 degrees times pi radians over 180. And I'm actually going to solve this second example down here because it just makes our calculating easier. It's like we've already simplified 2 over 360. So now this gives us 30 pi over 180. And now we can just simplify 30 over 180 because we could divide 30 into both of those numbers. And we're just going to get pi over 6, and it is in radians. Okay? So 30 degrees is the same as pi over 6 radians. The next one we're going to do says convert 3 pi over 8 radians to degrees. So now we're going to take 3 pi over 8 and we're going to multiply by 180 degrees over pi. Okay, so now our pi's are going to cancel out, and we're left with 8 on the denominator. And now we can do 180 times 3, and we get 540. So now all we have to do is do 540 divided by 8, and we get our degree measure of 67.5 degrees. Okay, let's do 2 more. Number 3, we're going to convert 270 degrees to radians. So we're going to take 270 degrees and multiply it by pi over 180 degrees. So now we get 270 pi over 180. And we can simplify that if you want to take the zeros off, 27 pi over 18. And now 27 and 18 are both multiples of 9, so we can divide both of those by 9, and we're going to get 3 pi over 2 radians as our final answer. Okay, so 270 degrees is the same as 3 pi over 2 radians. And the last one, we're going to do 11 pi over 12, and we're going to convert that to degrees. So we're going to multiply that by 180 over pi. So once again, the pi is going to cancel. So we're left with 12 in the denominator, and we can do 11 times 180, and we get 1,980. And now we divide this by 12 to get a degree measure of 165 degrees. Okay, and that is how you convert between degrees and radians.